Hey there, and welcome to episode 9 of the Dudes Being Guys Sports Podcast.
Just guys being dudes.
My name is Marco Yerkovich. Joining me, as always, is Easton Nelson.
What's up, guys?
All right, on today's episode, we'll be talking about the Patriots ending the Chiefs' perfect season, our NFL midseason MVP, our NFL power rankings, Nick Bosa leaving Ohio State, our reactions to NBA opening day, and much, much more.
And before we begin, I'd just like to remind everyone to please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. Okay, let's get things started.
All right, so Brady and the Pats on Sunday Night Football, they ended the Chiefs' perfect season. So is Tom Brady still the best quarterback in the NFL right now?
For at least a couple more seasons, I think, till people like Jared Goff, Mahomes, like they're MVP candidates that possibly this season could be MVP candidates. But for now, Tom Brady, yes, I think he's fallen off a little bit as his team isn't doing as well as they usually do. And I guess we probably have too high of expectations based off the past few years.
They never win in September anyway.
Yeah.
They don't take it seriously.
Yeah. But I'd say for the next few years, Tom Brady will be the best quarterback, but I don't know.
Well, I think just what comes to mind is I know for sure that Patrick Mahomes is the better physical specimen than Tom Brady. He's faster, he's stronger, he can throw the ball farther, but Tom Brady is so smart. He sees everything
Better
before it
IQ.
happens, right? There's no defense out there that he hasn't seen. That 2-minute drive to ice the game and kick the game-winning field goal, that looks so effortless. They didn't once hurry to the ball. They huddled like 2 or 3 times. They ran the ball. It's the most nonchalant 2-minute drill I have ever seen, and honestly, it just shows his true experience. So, but more to the side of the Chiefs' defense, how big a concern are they right now? They give up 43 points to a pretty gaudy New England offense, but that's still
Gaudy.
43 points.
I mean, yeah, but it hasn't been a bad thing for them so far as their offense has been
They're
able to
last in
outscore.
total defense.
Yeah, I know, but it hasn't
Last,
translated
dead
in
last.
losses yet. Yes,
Well,
it's a problem because
yeah,
if
they have
you're
one
allowing
loss.
if you're allowing that many points a game, you definitely need some work there. But so far that it hasn't been a problem for them because their offense is just so dominant that they don't really need a defense.
Well, right. It's not going to be a huge problem in the regular season, except for games against like the Patriots or the
Postseason.
Rams. Postseason in January, they're going to pay for this defense.
Definitely.
In divisional round or AFC Championship game,
And
they're going to pay for this.
yeah, and definitely, I'm really looking forward to when they play the Rams in a couple weeks because
That's going to be fun.
their defense and their offense is probably matched. Both probably the Chiefs have maybe a little bit better offense, but the Rams have a better defense, obviously.
Oh yeah, much
So,
better.
We'll see how that'll go.
So with how this game turned out, so the Chiefs were undefeated coming in, and the Patriots knocked them off, but the Chiefs are still first in the AFC. Between those two teams or someone else, who do you have as your favorite in the AFC right now?
I still have the Chiefs, and I don't know if it's just me on the hype train, like always, but I just love how their offense is being run with Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Kareem Hunt and all the weapons that they have. And their offensive line is really underrated. They're the I can't remember what stat it was. They give up the least sacks so
Yeah.
far.
What helps
So-
that they have a really mobile QB and a
Mhm.
guy who gets the ball
Ball
out
out
really
quick.
quickly.
Quick.
But my favorite, I have to go with the
Of
Patriots.
course.
They're very well. I mean, are you
Come on,
really going
man.
to bet against the Patriots? They have been to 8 straight AFC Championship games. I mean, I'm sure that's the longest streak in NFL history. They're just absurdly dominant, and their defense is not great, but it's better than the Chiefs is. And their
Yeah.
offense, if Josh Gordon can become, if he stays healthy and clean, and he
Stay
becomes
off
that.
the weed.
Yes. If he becomes that vertical passing threat, that Randy Moss or that Deion Branch type for the Patriots, that's really dangerous. Gronk stays healthy. You have Edelman underneath, Gordon, and a bevy of running backs. When they get Burkhead back, Sony Michel has been awesome. I can't bet against the Patriots. So let's move on to Gruden and the Raiders. They continue to fall. They lost again this week. So are the Raiders the worst team in the NFL, Easton?
I don't know. Like their roster, if you look at them on paper, they look like a really good team. I guess not a really
Not
good
really
team,
good. They're
but
they're
a solid team. Like I
yeah.
mean, Derek Carr, who was considered one of the top quarterbacks for a while, has seemed
Who
to have fallen
considered
off.
Derek Carr a top
Uh,
quarterback?
No,
He was
you think
decent for a year.
he was good for
Don't.
a couple years. Come on now.
1 year he was okay, and then he
Okay?
got
Oh,
hurt.
Come on. Okay, yeah,
Then he got hurt. He's gonna get traded.
You
Khalil
think
Mack
so?
got traded. Amari Cooper's on the trade block right now, and he's probably out with a
he get
concussion,
hurt?
so
Yeah.
he'll for sure get traded. And then Derek Carr is going to be out. If not by the end of the year, he's going to be out by next year. Gruden does not see Derek Carr as the quarterback of the future.
I don't think he sees any potential in any of his players.
Well, he's got a ton of picks from the Bears, though. And he's going to,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he's not going to trade for players when he trades Derek Carr and Amari Cooper. He's going to trade for picks. He's going to have an absurd amount of picks.
He's gonna
I'm telling
turn
you.
to the Celtics of the NFL, where they take everybody's.
We'll talk
pick.
about that later. That turned out pretty well for them, didn't it?
Yeah.
So, so we're talking about this. What needs to change for the Raiders as an organization? What culturally and team wise needs to change for them to have success?
I think they just need to figure out what they're doing. Like, it seems like the organization wants one thing and then the head coach wants another. They're not. I feel like John Gruden doesn't have a system put in yet, like a cemented system that the players are all on board with. And I mean, like you said, if Derek Carr gets traded, they're gonna have another quarterback that they're probably gonna have to build a different offensive scheme around. So I don't know.
Well, I totally agree, and unfortunately, I think Jack Del Rio's system. He was a more relaxed coach, and Gruden is one of the most intense coaches.
Mhm.
They practice hard. In a recent press conference, he said, we don't wake up at. He was denouncing tanking accusations. He says we don't wake up at 4 a.m. to tank. That's not what we're about. And I know John Gruden's not tanking, but they're just not playing well. And I think his culture mixed with the previous culture and a lack of communication for today's day and age. When he quit coaching more than 10 years ago, things were different politically and culturally in the league, communication-wise with the players. And I just don't think he's grasping that yet. And I think he has zero control over this locker room. I don't even think he knows what this locker room is about or what they're thinking. So I think it's just about communication for John Gruden. So honestly, when we're talking about this, was this 10-year, $100 million contract a mistake?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's very few coaches that I think deserve that much money, and that's basically Belichick, and that's still pushing it. I mean,
Yeah.
$100 million for
Yeah.
How long was it?
10 years,
10 years?
$100 million.
Jeez.
They
My
are
God.
locked in. This is a long haul. I mean,
And it's only the first year.
Right,
and
they're gonna have to
I
stick
feel
with
bad for
this-
the Raiders fans because I
they're
don't
going to have
think
to
they
stick
like
through
Gruden.
this for 5 or 6 years. They can't fire him 2 or 3 years
Is
into
there like
this.
an agreement where they can't fire him for a certain amount of time?
No, but they're going to have to. This is $100 million. All of it is guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
So whether he coaches until next week or 10 years from now, he's getting $100 million, which is absurd. And the problem with this is handicapping the Raiders organization. Very few times do you see NFL teams becoming handicapped financially. In the NBA, you can see teams with the guaranteed money. They
Mhm.
can get trapped, The Portland Trailblazers, a perfect example. A couple bad contracts, and they're stuck in mediocrity in the Western Conference. But you could cut Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers tomorrow, and you take a cap hit for a year. But you can totally reset your team, your entire roster. You can have complete turnover and reset your team in a year. So, but the problem with this is the Raiders are stuck, as you said. What are they going to do if they're stuck with this for 10 years?
Well, I guess we're gonna have to find out because I feel like there's gonna be a lot of drama in the coming years, and the fans, I feel bad for them. Like I said, I don't think they like Gruden, but maybe he can change it. Maybe they'll be a good team in a few years, but I really don't see them becoming a contender anytime soon.
Okay, so from one NFL drama to another, let's talk about John Mara trashing on Odell Beckham Jr. for his how he talked about Eli in that interview. It's just a mess. Odell is talking. The owner is talking about him. It's just a really strange situation. So do you think John Mara is correct in his criticism of Odell Beckham Jr. in this instance?
I don't take OBJ's side very much, but I mean, Eli Manning should not be the quarterback anymore. Let's be honest.
Yep,
I
I
mean,
totally agree with you.
I mean, he shouldn't have been a couple years ago either.
Mhm.
It's been a long time coming. And
His last name And just I
It's a
think
disgrace to his family name.
Yep. His last name is the only reason he's still a quarterback, and the fact that he had two great defenses that led him to Super Bowls. That's the only reason he's, if he doesn't have a Super Bowl win and his last name isn't Manning, he's out in 2015.
Oh, yeah,
if
definitely.
We can be real about that.
Yeah, and going on to the next topic, did the Giants make a mistake in not drafting a quarterback in this draft?
Yeah, I think Giants fans, for the next 10 to 15 years, they will rue that April night in which they did not pick a quarterback.
Who was on the board?
They had Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, and Josh Allen as quarterbacks still on the board, and they picked a running back. I'm telling you, Saquon Barkley is putting up awesome numbers. He's a top 10 running back in the NFL right now, but running backs do not change outcomes of games. Quarterbacks do. And it's going to be even worse because Sam Darnold, he's in the town, and he's going to be in New York for the next 15 years just tearing it up with the Jets, and the Giants are going to have to look over at their crosstown rival and say, wow, we totally messed up in drafting
That's saying they don't get
Barkley.
A better quarterback in a draft in the coming years, if not this year.
Yeah, but the problem is I think they'll be good enough. They'll win a couple of games this year, so I don't know if they'll have the best picking at quarterback unless they bench Eli now, and they play for
Who is
draft.
their backup right now?
Is it still Davis Webb from California?
Is it really?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think I'd still start Eli
I would start
over him.
anyone except for Nathan Peterman over Eli Manning.
God.
Nathan Peterman, you're a disgrace to the NFL.
He shouldn't even be in the CFL.
No, he shouldn't. And he's just awful. And I don't want to talk about Nathan Peterman or Eli Manning anymore. So let's move on to our second to last NFL topic. Let's go. We're halfway through the NFL season, so let's make some bold predictions, accusations. Mid-season NFL MVP.
Somebody that we've already talked about today, Patrick Mahomes.
Really?
Yes.
I thought about going with that.
Really? Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can go wrong. I don't think this is a bad pick for me.
No, it's really not.
Yeah,
I debated that one.
Yeah, he's thrown for 1,865 yards and passed for 18 touchdowns already. Yes, they took a loss to the Patriots, but, I mean, you'll take a loss from the Patriots. It's not like the worst team.
Yeah.
I mean, you won't take a loss
and
from
it was
them,
only a 3-point loss.
game.
They played really well despite their defense being atrocious.
And I think if he can keep up these numbers through the coming weeks and their schedule's getting a little bit easier except for the Rams game, I think that Mahomes can definitely be up there on the list for the MVP.
Yeah, as I said, I totally was grappling with choosing him. I went with the veteran. Maybe it's because he passed the 500 touchdowns, and he also has the all-time passing record now. And I think it's time for Drew Brees to win an MVP. He's also second in touchdowns, third in yards this season, and he's leading a playoff contender, if not a Super Bowl contender, in New Orleans. So I went with Drew Brees, but I can totally see Patrick Mahomes.
I'd really like Drew Brees to win MVP because I really like him, and
yeah, it's crazy that he hasn't won an MVP.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see him win one.
Yeah,
with all his years in New Orleans.
Yeah, so now let's move on to our NFL power rankings for Week 7. Easton, who do you have at number 10?
The Pittsburgh Steelers. My least favorite team, as everybody knows. But their defense has stepped up a little bit in the past few weeks, which I thought they were not a great defense, as they're not, because their secondary is garbage. But their defensive line and linebackers are really good, and they're definitely a top 5 offense with Antonio Brown, if Le'Veon Bell ever comes back, and Big Ben out there, plus Juju Smith. And let's talk about Vance McDonald.
Man,
can anybody tackle him?
He's a runaway train, man.
I was watching the game. I'm like,
that stiff
arm
against
tackle him?
Tampa Bay, and just in the middle of the field, he's like Diet Gronk. Like, he's solid. Unfortunately, he's a tight end in the AFC, and you have Travis Kelce and Gronk, but there's a third tight end spot, right?
I think there's 4, maybe.
Is there 4? Well, then he's a Pro Bowler. Because I don't see any other competition outside of those two in the AFC that's better than Vance McDonald right now. He's just playing phenomenally.
Steelers have a good tight end rotation. They have Jesse James, and they had this other guy. I can't remember his name, but he had a pretty good game the other
day. It starts with a G.
P.
Gumbel.
Gumbel, yeah.
Yeah. Xavier Gumbel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
He's solid, yeah. So at 10, I have Aaron Rodgers.
The
You heard me
Packers.
right. At number 10, I have
the
Aaron
only
Rodgers.
player on the team.
Yeah. Green Bay Packers. What? I mean, they almost lost to the 49ers in Lambeau. The Packers are just
So why do you have
awful.
them on your
Because
top
of
10
Aaron
list?
Rodgers. He
But-
beat the Bears and the 49ers single-handedly. Come on. Give the man some
He
respect.
beat the Bears single-handedly. The 49ers doesn't take much of it's not much
He was
work.
on one leg. I mean,
Okay.
probably on enough steroids to kill an elephant, but I mean, he beat the Bears and now the 49ers.
The Bears, yes.
So who
That-
do you
I'll give
have
him
at
credit.
9?
And then I have another AFC North team, the Baltimore Ravens. A very slept on defense this year, it seems, as I think they have a top 5 stats in defensive rating, and I don't know if it's interceptions or takeaways, but one of those categories. Joe Flacco is overrated, and I think you said last week he's a disgrace to something, which
I don't
you
know.
probably said it.
I
knowing
say
you.
people are disgraces all the
Yeah.
time. Kyle Lowry, Joe Flacco, Eli Manning. There's a lot of
A lot of
disgraces in
people.
sports.
But he has
Mike
a lot of
Riley.
Mike Riley. Scott Frost?
Not yet.
not
We'll
yet.
get there.
But I think the Ravens can definitely make a push for the AFC North champions. But I don't know. Who do you have at 9?
So at 9, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know they're just kind of like the Patriots. They had a bad September, but those good teams, they almost use that as a second preseason. They're just kind of testing the water, and the Steelers' defense is getting better. Of course, you have T.J. Watt and Stephon Tuitt on the line, and their defense will figure it out. Mike Tomlin's a great defensive back coach, so and that offense is unstoppable. So I have Pittsburgh at 8 or at 9. I'm sorry. Who do you have at 8?
I have the Chicago Bears. I love their defense. This is probably one of my favorite teams right now to watch, honestly. Mitch Trubisky is going to be one of the greatest not the greatest quarterback, but one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL in the coming years. And with Khalil Mack and Danny Trevathan and who's the other linebacker there, rookie? Roquan Smith?
Roquan Smith from Georgia.
He looks really good. And just their defense overall is really good. And so I have them at 8.
That's not a bad one. At 8, I have the Seattle Seahawks, who just recently got finished mutilating the Raiders in London. I think it's kind of over for the Seahawks, but they're 3-3, and the NFC's crowded right now. I have them over the Panthers because I simply just like Russell Wilson better than Cam Newton. And I do still trust the Seattle defense, despite all its missing pieces. They still have a couple of linchpins. And, their running game is actually kind of resurfacing with Rashawn Penny and the Carson guy. So,
Trey Carson.
I trust Seattle a little bit, actually.
Yeah, what you said with Aaron Rodgers, just Aaron Rodgers instead of the Packers, I would say Russell Wilson for the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Because
It's pretty close to that,
honestly, if they had any other quarterback besides like somebody that's better than Russell Wilson, what are they going to be? They're going to not win a game.
Nothing. They're a terrible team.
So
but
on to number
Russell
7,
Wilson. Yeah, number 7.
the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
I mean, yes, they lost to the Steelers, and their defense really hasn't done that well this year as what I thought they were going to be. And with Vontaze Burfict coming back, I thought they were going to have a different outlook on how they were going to play these Steelers. And it wasn't a super chippy game, but they had their moments. But I like their offense. Their offense has been one of the better offenses in the league as they've averaged, I think it was 32 points a game.
Yeah, they're scoring quite a bit.
Yeah, they're scoring a lot. It's just their defense isn't getting the stops when they need them. So I have them at 7. Who do you have at 7?
So at 7, I have the Minnesota Vikings. They have a lot of pieces. We both thought they'd be probably the top challenger in the NFC this season. They haven't really played up, to their standards. They lost to Buffalo. They tied Green Bay. They've really struggled with bad teams. They almost lost to Arizona. But I think they'll figure it out. And Latavius Murray in that running attack finally got going. But that defense is
stacked.
They're really stacked.
Except for, who's the one guy that just got in trouble? Why can't I think of his name?
Everson
Griffin. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he'll get it figured out. But honestly, this Minnesota team, as long as Kirk Cousins is, I don't know, behaving himself, I guess, like not throwing interceptions, he's just doing his job, they should be fine. They really should. So who do you have at 6?
At 6, I have the Vikings, so I have them a spot above you. Kirk Cousins hasn't done as well as I thought he was going to do.
No.
'cause
The
on the
contract is
Redskins-
kind of inflated for what they were getting, but as we've talked before, you do just have to pay for decent talent now
Yeah, I
at
mean,
quarterback.
Yeah, because what he did on the Redskins, I thought he was going to do super well, especially how Case Keenum and Sam Bradford played for the Vikings.
Yeah.
I mean, Kirk Cousins is obviously better
He's
than
better
him. I
than
thought he
them,
was
yeah.
going to take like a huge step up, be like,
I think a lot of people thought that same
Yeah.
way as you. They thought, well, if this team is doing this way with these guys, then with a guy who's maybe not a Pro Bowler, but he's certainly a step up from those
Mhm.
guys, they'd be better. But I totally see where you're coming from with that. So at 6, I have the Chicago Bears. I honestly, I really didn't think this Bears team would be this good. I guess I knew the defense was good, and as soon as I got Khalil Mack, we've talked about this before. They've really been something special, and the offense has figured it out. I know they had a bad loss in Miami, but that's just a hiccup,
to
both-
Brock Osweiler.
you know.
Kind of
they-
embarrassing, but
And they barely lost to Green Bay, kind of also in embarrassing fashion. But those are two losses that I can totally understand from the Bears, and they'll learn from them,
Mhm.
and they'll get better. And I'm not worried about those losses.
yeah, I mean, the Bears, solid team, great defense. Their offense is getting figured out. I think I'm gonna choose them to win the NFC North. So
Yeah, that's a decent pick. I wouldn't argue with
Nostradamus?
that.
that's not too out of the question, I don't think.
No, no, I'd say it's like I'd give a 40% chance to the Bears, maybe like a 50% chance to the Vikings, 10% chance to the Packers. I think you have a potential of the NFC North containing both of the wild cards from the
Yeah.
NFC.
I could definitely see that. But moving on to the top 5. At number 5, I have the LA Chargers with the quarterback that has the weirdest throwing motion I've ever seen. I've never caught that until this year. Like, I don't know how I've never seen that, but it looks so dumb. You know what you know what I'm talking about?
But he's a great quarterback.
He's a great quarterback.
I'm gonna hop on this with you too. I have the Chargers at 5. That defense, I think Derwin James, the safety for them, he could be a Pro Bowler as a rookie. They don't even have Joey Bosa back at a defensive end, and their defense is just so
I feel
stout.
like they could be like a Vikings defense from last year where they could have a Pro Bowler at almost every position in the
Yeah,
Pro Bowl.
I see that. They're just a really stacked team.
Mhm.
So who do you have at 4?
For the Saints, a team that kind of like the Chiefs has done better on offense than their defense hasn't really done anything. They just outscored people. But obviously Drew Brees, you picked him for MVP. I could definitely see that. Love Drew Brees. And then they also have Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram as the dual threat running backs. And they have weapons on the outside for Drew Brees and Michael Thomas. And, I mean, their defense, it's not the greatest, but it's getting the job done so far. So, who do you have at number 4? I guess number 5. Is it? No, you had 5.
Yeah, I
That's
will
fine.
say, I may or may not have skipped a number. I had the Ravens in there. I think I skipped
Yeah, the
either 8
Ravens
or
at number
9.
4?
I have the
Oh,
Ravens in there somewhere. I skipped them. They have a good defense, and Joe Flacco's doing his job, so they're a decent team. So anyway, at 4, I have the Chiefs. I don't really
Really?
trust their defense at all. Their offense is amazing, but their defense is just abysmal,
Atrocious.
atrocious. Other adjectives meaning bad or terrible.
Get a
Just
thesaurus.
god awful. They're awful. But this offense is the polar opposite. They're so creative and fluid, and literally they could have a Pro Bowler at, as you said, with the Chargers defense. The Chiefs offense could have a Pro Bowler at every position in the AFC. I'm counting in my head. I'm seeing at least 5 or 6 Pro Bowlers, including Patrick Mahomes. So really unstoppable offense, but a really concerning defense in KC.
And yeah. At number 3, I have the Patriots. I'm not as much of a believer in the Patriots as you are. I think that might be because you're a fan of them too. But something about me tells me that this year they're just not going to be as good in the postseason or in the regular season, which it really doesn't matter for them in the regular season. But Tom Brady's slowing down, I think. His weapons have come back with Edelman got back last week or 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks, ago. Yep.
And
4
Josh
game
Gordon, if he
suspension.
can, like you said, if he can stay off the weed and be healthy,
Stay off the weed.
I really want him to become back to what he was before he got suspended. 'cause-
Which is an AP All-Pro player.
yeah,
Really good.
yeah, and then is Gronk hurt?
No, he's
Oh,
healthy.
really?
Yep.
That's a surprise.
It's a question you have to ask, which is unfortunate. but
Weekly.
It's a weekly question.
Possibly
Should be a weekly
secondly.
segment. Yeah. So who do you have? Oh, I guess it's
Who do
my
you
turn.
have at number 3?
So who do I have at number 3? Well, I have the Saints. We talked about it. You
Mm-hmm.
talked about it. Drew Brees is awesome, and that running back tandem, both will probably make the Pro Bowl. Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara, tremendous. And Michael Thomas is the unsung hero of this offense. He really takes the top off of the defense because he's that deep threat.
So tall.
They have intermediate receivers that are all right, and of course Kamara out of the backfield. But Michael Thomas is really what makes this offense tick because of his deep threat, but also his versatility. They move it around all the time, and that defense constantly has a focal point on him, allowing Drew Brees to pick apart the rest of the defense.
He's got that big playability where, I mean, if you need to chuck it up to somebody and you
Yeah.
chuck it up to him, he's most likely going to come down with it.
Yeah, of course. So he's one of those guys that should be an elite receiver, or at least in the conversation, and I don't think he gets the credit
Not
due.
yet.
So who do you have at 2?
At 2, I have the Chiefs. You had them at 4?
Yeah.
But I'm a believer in them, even though their defense is not good at all. I think this is going into the playoffs. This is not a playoff prediction. So I think that in the Chiefs during the regular season can definitely, I think that they'll only lose 1 or 2 games, possibly the Rams. Depends how that turns out. But I really love their offense. Like I said, Mahomes, Pro Bowler, Hunt, Pro Bowler, and then probably 3 more, like as you said. So I have them at number 2.
Yeah, so at number 2, I have the Patriots. I just, got to trust the Patriot way. Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. The defense is figuring it out. They'll get there. But now, as we said before with Josh Gordon going, over the top, Rob Gronkowski is just deadly, as we saw in the fourth quarter against the Chiefs. And Edelman, Brady's security blanket, and that, that gaggle of running backs back there. Sony Michel is really starting to establish himself as the main runner. They use James White as a receiving running back a lot. As Sony Michel, I think he's had, at least 10 carries on 100 yards, and I think 3 consecutive games. That's got to be some kind of...
Picked him up on fantasy, and he got
streak.
me 28 points last week. So
He's good.
yeah.
Yeah.
When does
So-
Burkhead get back?
I have no idea, but
Is he out for the season? No.
I
That's
have no
Jeremy
idea.
Hill.
He hurt
That's
his
Jeremy
neck,
Hill.
but I'm not sure. But of course,
Number 1, we have the same.
the Rams.
Yep.
Yeah, we've said it a million times, and we'll probably say it for the rest of the season, even if they pick up a loss or 2. So,
Super Bowl.
probably. At least they'll get there.
Mhm.
So that's our NFL Power Rankings for Week 7. Now time for a Nostradamus.
Classic part of our
Nostradamus.
podcast.
Yep. So, Easton, you don't know about this
I don't.
Nostradamus.
Am I going to be surprised?
Yeah.
And, like, what face am I going to have when I hear this?
You're gonna be filled with rage.
Oh,
So here we
great.
go.
Oh.
Here's my Nostradamus.
I feel like I know what's coming.
We are 0-2
Oh.
on Nostradamus so far.
well,
Still with
we
one
don't know mine
pending.
yet, Yeah.
No, still with one pending. We're 0-2 so far. We have one pending. That's the Lakers not making the playoffs. That's
Wait,
Easton's.
what are the 2 losses?
I don't
One
wanna
was
talk-
the FAU.
FAU Oklahoma,
What was the
and
other
then the
one?
other was the Red Sox making it to
Oh, yeah,
160
yeah.
wins. Both very far fetched. They're pretty Nostradamus, man.
Yeah.
This one not much.
Why do
Not-
I feel like I know what he's going to say?
So, my Nostradamus, by week 17, the end of the NFL season, the Cincinnati
I'm leaving.
Bengals will be dead last, 4th place in the AFC North. They're going to lose to the Browns. They're going to lose to the Steelers. They're going to lose to the Ravens. They're going to be dead last, not last in the AFC, but last in the AFC North. I think they're clearly the worst team in the AFC North, miles behind the Browns, the Ravens, and the Steelers. Your thoughts?
Are you serious right now? The
Yes.
Browns, the Ravens,
Yes.
the Steelers?
The
Oh,
Ravens
come
are a dark
on.
horse Super Bowl contender. The Browns the same, but with the playoffs.
Alright, I got the schedule
The
right here.
Steelers are a Super Bowl contender every year.
I got the schedule
perennially.
right here.
Come
Listen-
on,
listen.
bring it on.
So, next week, Kansas City, loss.
Loss,
Buccaneers, win. Bye week, Saints,
loss,
Ravens, win.
loss,
Browns, win.
loss,
Broncos, win.
loss,
Chargers, loss.
loss,
Raiders, win.
loss.
Oh, come on.
Fine, win.
Browns
it's the Raiders.
win.
It's the Raiders.
Steelers
Loss,
win.
Loss. There's only 2 more wins left on that schedule. I'm not counting the bye week either. So
You're delusional.
what are they right now? 4-2,
Yes.
6-10.
Oh, come.
Calling it right now.
If,
The
if
Bengals
that
will be
happens,
6-10.
Marco, if that happens, I will pay you a certain amount of money.
$25.
$25. All right, shake on it.
Okay,
We're doing an air shake.
air shake.
All right.
We're really far away. It's okay.
I can't
So
believe that
that's
right now.
Nostradamus.
You're gonna be 0-3.
Bengals are going to be 6-10. Well, you're not helping either. The Lakers aren't going to make the playoffs. Yeah, right.
Hey, we never know.
They have
LeBron gets hurt. What if
LeBron.
LeBron gets hurt?
Then yeah, it's over. That's kind of a
I
giant
mean, that's never happened.
caveat
but-
asterisk. Okay, so let's move on to our college football playoff picture. Of course, let's start from 1, Alabama. Like, let's not
Mhm.
even
We
talk
have to
about
agree
this.
on that.
Yeah,
Jalen
Alabama,
Hurts,
we
Tua
finally agree.
Tagovailoa.
Alabama's just so dominant. And honestly, I don't think there's anyone that can beat them. We'll talk about this in a little bit. But yeah, Alabama at 1. Who do you have at 2?
I have Clemson. They had a bye week, so I'm gonna keep them the same spot as I had last week. I mean, their defense is great. Their offense, I don't know. I'm not a true believer in them yet, but I think that they're good enough to be number 2. Who do you have? At
Yeah, I
number 2?
have Clemson at 2 as well. I've had Ohio State at
Mhm.
3 behind Georgia, who was 2, but they lost. I've just kind of lost a little bit of faith in Ohio State with their close
Yeah.
games against Indiana and Minnesota. So I moved up Clemson to 2 because that Syracuse barely win doesn't look great. But again, backup quarterback and
Wasn't their backup?
it was their backup quarterback, third string as they call him. His
The
real name is
simplified
Bryce. But anyway, that Syracuse, that loss or that win, I should say, is a good win, and Syracuse is a decent team.
Mhm.
So I need to stop, faulting them for that. So who do you have at 3?
At 3, I think you said you had Ohio State there too, right? I have them there. Like you said,
Yeah,
they have their offense is really good, but they've played really close games and
Yeah.
too close for comfort, to be honest, for
their
them.
defense has so many holes.
Yeah.
Dwayne Haskins is really filling those holes well by
Mhm.
putting points on the board. Their offensive line played, I think, one of the worst games I've seen an Urban Meyer offensive line play.
and especially they always have one of the better offensive lines, so that's
Yeah.
pretty rare to see that.
Minnesota trashed them. They
Yeah.
controlled the line of scrimmage for about 45 minutes
Mhm.
of that game. So that was really surprising to see. I have Notre Dame at 4.
Same.
They're undefeated, and their path to the playoff is pretty easy. Their toughest remaining game, I think, is Syracuse.
Which should
Florida
be a
State,
win.
Those are both
So-
wins. I guess maybe USC in the final
Yeah.
game, and the only thing that could really hurt them would be maybe,
Having a close game.
or maybe a one-loss conference champion
Yeah.
going up against Notre Dame in a kind of in a who would you rather. And I don't know who I'd pick, but Notre Dame has a solid schedule, and if they go undefeated, I think they're clearly in the playoff.
If they lose a game, you don't have them at all. You don't think they have a chance.
If
I don't
they
think they do.
lose, the problem is you have potentially a one-loss Michigan, undefeated Clemson, one-loss Texas or Oklahoma,
Mhm.
one-loss Oregon. There's a lot of possibilities that when a one-loss team like Notre Dame, who doesn't have a chance to redeem themselves in a conference title game, then that becomes a problem. For
Yeah, I have
me, at
Notre
least.
Dame at 4 too, and I'm just gonna. I agree with everything you said, but
Yeah.
this team has really surprised me this year. I did not expect them to be undefeated at this part of the season right now.
So who do you have at 5?
At 5, I have Michigan, which is a team that also really surprised me, and let's say it, Jim Harbaugh
Jim Harbaugh can
finally
coach.
won. Yeah, he can
He
coach.
can coach.
He finally won a big game for once in his life.
Yeah.
But I mean, their defense is super athletic. Like,
Frightening.
yeah, it's scary. They're fast. They get around the linemen, and they can basically do anything that they want. And then their offense is also pretty electric.
Yeah.
I
they
mean-
bullied Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
320 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns.
I-
That's the most Wisconsin has given up against a Power 5 foe since 2000.
I chose Michigan to win this game in my head, but
In your head.
in my head
We quit
we
doing
didn't
picks.
did
We were
pick?
bad.
Did
we
we do
haven't been
picks?
doing picks.
Yeah, we didn't do picks.
It's kind of a waste of
but I
time
did
on
not
here.
think it was gonna be that big of a blowout.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I have LSU. I think I just valued the blood of Georgia more than I did Michigan's of Wisconsin. LSU is also just has the better schedule, and their defense is just as scary. They've got 3 first-round draft picks with Delpit at safety, Greedy Williams, and then Devin White at linebacker. They're really scary. I have Michigan at 6 for all the reasons you said. So who do you have at 6?
We just flip flop there at the end. I have
Yeah.
LSU at 6. I mean, they have 2 promising wins against Miami earlier in the year, and then now Georgia, which really surprised me. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
Georgia was
I
my
wouldn't have
I think
picked
it was
that.
3 on my last power rankings.
yeah, they were
So-
2 on mine, and they were 2 in the AP poll, and they just manhandled Georgia.
Yeah, but the
Georgia
thing
had no
the thing that
chance.
scares me is their offense is sometimes inconsistent.
Yeah,
So we'll see how that affects them going into the season or going on into the season.
yeah, and so we'll see. So now moving on to some more college football stuff. We have Nick Bosa unenrolling and leaving Ohio State after an abdominal injury. Those kind of injuries are tough to diagnose because it's not like a broken hand where it's 6 weeks and he'll be fine. But what are your thoughts on him leaving?
I mean, he's injured, so I mean, was he out for the year? 'Cause-
They said there was a pretty decent chance he would be back if they made it to like the national, so like New Year's. So he'd be
New
back
Year's- around New
beginning of
Year's.
January. So like for the semifinal and potential championship game, that's when he would be back.
well, now that kind of changes. If he was gonna play, I understand, or I don't understand him leaving, but
But that was
feel
potentially.
yeah, potentially.
And I feel like he's protecting his future. And
Yeah, I mean-
this just smells of angry fans just wanting their player back. And even Urban Meyer said, I respect this guy. He was a great Buckeye. Wish him the best on future endeavors. And he's protecting his future. And the problem is, he has nowhere to go on his draft stock but up. He's the best prospect, and he's probably gonna be second or third because obviously quarterbacks take precedent in the draft. But he's the best talent. He should have been drafted last year, but because of some archaic rule, he had to wait another year. So I have zero problem with this. He is protecting his future, and he's ready to play in the NFL. So why not?
Yeah, I definitely see why.
Yeah, every injury is different. We don't know how this is affecting him. Let him rehab. This is millions of dollars on the line if he were to get this re-injured or to have some other bad injury. And I'm seeing a lot of people thinking that this is an epidemic in college football. It happened with Christian McCaffrey 2 years ago, and they were in a not-so-great bowl. And now Nick Bosa. But the problem is, this really isn't an epidemic.
No.
This is really just a few players
pretty rare.
that are so high in the first round that their draft stock can go nowhere but down with an injury. This isn't happening. A guy isn't taken off the latter half of the season in a bowl game. If he's a second round guy, he's going to be trying to get better and get to a first round. This is such a minute amount of players that will be doing this.
Yeah,
this is really not a
Like
problem.
you said, they're trying to save their future. I mean, I completely understand why he does this because you don't want to be. I mean, is there a certain amount of money like first rounder to make, and if you get slipped down to the second round, do they make less?
oh yeah, signing
like
bonus
yeah.
and contract. Yeah.
Yeah. So why would you
even
risk
the difference
millions?
between the first pick and the 10th
Yeah.
pick? There's a large monetary difference.
Yeah,
in your
so why would you
contracts.
waste millions on
Yeah.
playing like when you don't even have to? When
The
you're hurt?
lowest pick he will be is third. Because
Yeah.
even if quarterbacks are picked ahead of him, there's only 2 quarterbacks, Justin Herbert and Will Grier, that could go ahead of him. So, and they're not
interested.
better than him. They're just like, obviously a quarterback is probably more important.
Mhm.
As we saw with the Giants, you got to
Yeah.
take a quarterback. They'll probably actually end up having to take a quarterback this year.
The
then
Giants
they
or
will-
the
The Giants.
The Giants.
They'll complete their triumvirate in New York of
yeah.
Barkley, Odell,
I
and
wonder who they'll take.
maybe Will
Grier?
Greer. Maybe.
Watch them get like a worse
Herbert.
quarterback than Eli
Oh
Manning.
man, if the Giants mess up this pick this year and they get a bad quarterback, there will be mayhem in the streets of New York. So that is it for that Ohio State conversation. Now we're going to move on to a highly dominant Alabama program. They're still rolling. Easton, can anyone stop Alabama?
Unfortunately, not. Because
Pretty solid sentiment there.
I mean, Alabama. How good are they going to be for, or how long are they going to be this
They
good?
have
Because
Tua Tagovailoa and his
Jalen
younger
Hurts.
brother.
what? Oh,
Tua
they have-
Tagovailoa's younger brother is a senior in high school right now, and he committed to Alabama.
Really? Is he a quarterback?
Yes.
Oh god, they're gonna. Jalen Hurts is a senior, right?
He's a junior.
A junior?
But he's
So
gonna
he's
he's
gonna
gonna
have
be a
3
graduate
quarterbacks?
transfer. He's gonna go somewhere else next year.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't see a loss on their schedule. I don't see them being challenged by Mississippi State this weekend. I don't see them being challenged by Auburn in the Iron Bowl. The only decent competition we're gonna see where it's even even a 2-touchdown game is LSU.
And that's if they're having a good day.
Yeah, it's if they're having a good day. Joe Burrow takes care of the ball, which he may or may not. So yeah, honestly, and whoever they play in the SEC championship game, maybe. But even if they lose in the SEC championship game, with as dominant as they've been, and they'll be number 1, and they'll lose to a top 10 team, they'd still make the playoffs, right?
Oh yeah.
You'd take a 1-loss Alabama over a
the name
1-loss
too.
Auburn
The
or
name,
1-loss
the players
Michigan.
that they have.
Yeah,
The committee's gonna put them in.
yeah, of course, and they deserve to be in. You know,
Yeah, definitely.
so yeah. And I honestly think Alabama, they're the only team that's made it in every single year to the playoff, and I don't see this streak ending anytime soon. Maybe when Saban retires, they'll quit making the playoff. But now with that Georgia loss, though, the only thing we have to think about is there's no way 2 SEC teams can make it in, because I really don't think a 2-loss non-champion LSU can make it in, despite how tough their schedule's been and how well they've played. You have too many 1-loss or undefeated teams that just deserve a placement over a 2-loss LSU.
It's kind of a weird year in college football as
we had a mess
with the
this
playoff.
this past
Yeah.
weekend.
Oh
Was
my God.
really messy. 4 top 10 teams going down, and a big shakeup. But honestly, this opens the door for a lot of teams. Michigan, we thought they were down and out. UCF it'll be really interesting to see here in a week and a half where UCF is put in that initial college football poll, because that'll really designate whether or not the committee thinks they can make it in or not. So that is it for that Alabama conversation. They clearly dominant. Will anyone beat them? Probably not. So let's talk about another league with some competition issues, the NBA. So opening night, full discretion, we're recording this on Wednesday night. We're currently watching the Pelicans trounce the Rockets on the TV in front of us.
Thank you, Carmelo, for leaving.
It's a 22-point lead, Chuck.
He just got blocked by Anthony
Davis. That's called being blown out. It's the third quarter.
Yeah.
Watch the Rockets come back and win this.
I'm gonna have to change my playoff predictions because I don't think I had the Pelicans in.
Yeah, I didn't either. As soon as we made those predictions, I knew we were gonna regret them.
Gentry.
Because we have Anthony Davis as like an MVP candidate, but he's like 10th in the West. That's
that makes
totally
no
off.
sense.
Anyway, so opening night. So let's start with the Sixers Celtics game. Your impressions of what you saw in that game.
I saw that Jaylen Brown isn't better than Brandon Ingram.
He is.
That was a lucky layup dunk.
Well, you don't get lucky if you don't go up for that. What a dunk. Jason Tatum dominated. I think Jason Tatum is the best player in the Boston Celtics, probably.
Really?
I mean,
no.
Kyrie Irving, we'll see. Jason Tatum is really good, man, and he can get better.
He's really good. He's better than Gordon Hayward. He's better than Al Horford, and he's better than Jaylen Brown.
Kyrie Irving could be regressing. I don't know.
After one game because he didn't play very well?
I don't know. Jason Tatum seems like the number one option offensively.
It's his headband. He needs to take it off.
Yeah, that looks so dumb.
He's a ninja. It looks like he's a ninja.
But honestly, the Celtics are so deep. I think they have like 10 guys, a solid 10 guys, if you're counting Aaron Baines, that could start on any NBA roster, maybe except for the Warriors.
Their bench would blow out the Hawks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy because they definitely have the best depth in the NBA.
Oh, for sure.
But I also think the Sixers have pretty good depth, even though they've lost Ilyasova and Bellinelli last year. They still have really
saw
good players.
That with their floor spacing, they really struggled without Ilyasova and Bellinelli. Those few times JJ Redick had space, he made the Celtics pay. But when it's just him, you really can't. And Markelle Fultz is clogging the lane, and Embiid's in there, and Simmons. There's no floor spacing. They're playing like it's 1976, and they can't get anything going.
I don't understand why they started Fultz over JJ Redick.
He was unplayable. They didn't play him in the second half.
Yeah, he scored 5 points?
Bust.
And he
absolutely. Bust.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Because
he had a good preseason. It was just one game. I mean, I'm gonna give him time. I know
we're being reactionary. The NFL, you can make a couple judgments after a couple games because that's like a fourth of the season. Mm-hmm. But it's tough to make these level of judgments in the NBA.
It's so weird. This season seems like it started so fast. It still feels like last season to me. I don't know what it is, but I mean, there's a lot of change in this NBA.
There's a lot of change in the NBA.
Michael Carter Williams, is he gonna shoot a 3?
Nope. Yeah, the Rockets are getting blown out. It's pretty bad. But I think the interesting
it's almost
thing,
30 points.
Yeah. and of course, we kind of have to talk about when we're talking about the Celtics being that dominant. Let's look at the other side of the coin, the other game, the other conference. The Warriors, they got the rings. Did you see how nonchalantly they were accepting those rings?
I know.
Like
They
it's just
they
a
didn't
yearly
even, they weren't even
occurrence.
excited about it.
No,
Like,
they were just business as usual.
Yeah.
You know.
especially Klay Thompson. Klay
Yeah.
Thompson just
I
never
mean,
has any
Klay
emotion.
Thompson's pretty mellow.
Yeah.
I like the beard though. I like the.
Yeah.
You know, he looks good.
I mean, he
Yeah.
had bad games.
You know, and it'll be interesting to see how they handle this offseason. Whoever leaves, if anyone leaves, whether it's Durant or it's Green or it's Thompson.
I saw Kevin Durant posted a picture after the win, and his brother commented, what did it say? Something like, "Good win. Let's get out of here after something." Something
I'm
get
sure
out
he
of here.
meant out of the arena.
I
Don't
know.
overreact.
Why would they say get out of the arena?
It's not.
And the
It's
picture
not
the next
an Eric
morning.
Bledsoe barbershop
I don't know.
situation. It's no. You're going too far.
I'm gonna
but
say
I
Durant's
gotta
leaving.
say, I was pretty impressed with how the Thunder played. I know the Warriors didn't shoot well. I know they missed 41 3-pointers, but I liked what I saw from the Thunder. But going back to the Eastern Conference matchup, just really briefly, so we have dynasties in sports, right? Serena Williams, Roger Federer, the New England Patriots,
Have we talked
Alabama
about tennis
football,
down here? Yeah.
UConn women's basketball. The Warriors in the NBA are a dynasty. The next dynasty in sports, you're seeing
The Cleveland
blossom.
Browns.
The Boston Celtics. They're going to win
They're already
the
a
NBA
dynasty.
championship. I called it last week. They're going to challenge the Warriors this year. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win next year. And you heard what Joel Embiid said. They said it's not a rivalry because they keep getting their ass kicked. So honestly, it's really not even close. I told you off air that Boston was going to kill Philly, and you were like, nah, it's going to be close. They blew them out. Philly's going to get killed for the next 5 years to a decade. This isn't even close. Boston is so much better than everyone else in the East, and I honestly think they have a better team chemistry and offensive scheme than the Warriors. I think the Celtics are the next NBA dynasty.
Unfortunately, I think I have to agree with you. I don't know if it's my hate, not hate, because I don't hate Jaylen Brown. I just don't think he's better than Brandon Ingram. I just think I'm not putting the Celtics, I'm not giving them enough respect as Michael Carter Williams just hit a 3.
But they'll earn that respect.
Yeah.
I still think, well, they haven't made it to the NBA Finals. So I think once they make it to the NBA Finals this year, win or lose against the Warriors or whoever they face
I mean,
in
it's
the
hard.
West,
It's hard to win
they'll
a championship after winning it this many years in a row.
Yeah.
So,
So, you know, this is just the beginning for the Celtics. Obviously, they've progressed in the playoffs year after year, but this is really the time for them. So, this is the year to prove themselves. There's not a lot. I mean, there's expectations this year, but this year it's kind of like, well, you know, the Warriors are still up there. So if they win the title, it'll be a surprise to a lot of people. Not myself, because I believe in them that much. But this is that kind of year of free expectations. Most people think they'll win the East, but the NBA title seems something kind of unreachable to a lot of people for them because the Warriors have such a tight grasp on the NBA. But if they win this title, I'm gonna favor them for the next 5 years. Honestly,
and I know it's
who's
only
gonna stop them?
yeah, and I know it's only one game. The Celtics looked really good, and the Warriors didn't look that good.
Kyrie
but-
only had 7. Gordon Hayward had 10.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy. Kyrie, their best player, doesn't have to be
Their best
be
two
on
players don't have
that
to be
night.
on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. Just the next. I mean, Marcus Morris scored like
16,
19 points
16.
in 16 minutes or something like that.
16 points.
In 19 minutes. Just crazy bench production, and they could throw a ton of guys out there, you know,
hmm
and they're just so talented. So, yeah, the Celtics are good. Newsflash.
They are,
If you didn't know.
and the
Go
Thunder
bet
are
on the
good
Boston
when Russell Westbrook
Celtics.
doesn't play.
Yeah.
Not saying that they're better.
That was cruel that he had to watch that ring ceremony.
They didn't.
man.
They didn't go out. Did you hear that?
I know, but he was there in spirit. He knew
He was
it
eating
happening.
snacks on the side
Yeah. Why was he so secretive about what he's
because
eating?
you're not supposed to eat on the bench.
Whatever. Whatever.
But
That's an old rule.
yeah, I mean, he really was gonna follow that. But
Yeah. So
that's
Warriors
our NBA.
are good. Celtics are good. I think that's going to be the NBA Finals. You thought it too. You
Mhm.
picked the Warriors. I
did.
picked the Celtics.
I might
They're
regret
going to
that.
be fun to watch all year.
I think it'll be a 7-game series finals.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's going to be fun to watch. So that's it for this week's sports news on the Dudes Being Guys Sports Podcast. I'm Marco Yurkovich. Joining me, as always, was Easton Nelson. Thank you guys, and see you guys next week.
Peace out.